Hello, my fellow law enthusiast humans. We're going to do day 21 of the KR Retrial Recap. So again, this is not going to be every little thing and every little detail that happened. I am giving you a summary of the day with some little screenshots and pics that I took throughout it. I did once again watch this on the Emily D. Baker channel. One, she's hilarious and funny and adds intellectual commentary. And two, it's easier to hear her stream when I'm at work rather than court TV, just because of the areas I've been in lately. So, my unnecessary background aside, we had a witness, another Aperture Science witness. So if you remember Shannon Burgess, he is a part of Aperture Science Company, and we have the Reconstructionist. This is the lead legal expert and possibly, and I'm really thinking the last witness for the Commonwealth. They do have other witnesses, like the dog bite expert, etc. But those are rebuttal witnesses, so they're not going to come in until after the defense does their case. On day 21, we started off with a long delay, over an hour of delay in court, because of an extended sidebar issue that had come up with the witness Judson Welcher. He is witness number 38, and this man is the Reconstructionist for Aperture Science. Now, what's notable about that is that the reason for the voir dire that ended up happening when we did go back on the record is a voir dire, if you forgot, is a mini interview that happens outside of the presence of the jury, usually for clarification and qualifications. And this man admitted that he didn't admit, he changed his report and he changed his presentation, his slideshow presentation. Now, what annoyed me and what annoyed me about Shannon Burgess as well is when Alessi asked him, "Did you make changes?" He said, "No, I didn't make changes. Is this different than what you had before?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's different. I deleted the last slide and I deleted a few words and sentences." So, buddy, you made alterations. You made changes. Why are you saying, "No, I didn't make changes"? Deleting or adding is changes. And he's like, "Well, it doesn't change my opinion or my testimony." We're not asking about your opinion or your testimony yet. We're asking about the presentation. Did you do something different to it than how it originally was before? Yes, you did. You made changes. Don't know why this was hard for both of the Aperture Science people. And also, both of the Aperture Science people changed or had new reports or changes to what they were presenting to the jury days before their testimony. May 8th, there were changes to the reports for Shannon Burgess, and this time there were changes made for Judson Welcher on Sunday, and he was to testify yesterday on Tuesday. He was being such an a-hole. I immediately disliked him. That's just my personal opinion. It doesn't mean anything. Alessi asked him, "How many times did you talk to Dr. Tully in the last 2 weeks?" That's the sentence he said. And he was like, "Do you mean in my lifetime?" "No, I've said the last 2 weeks for the last 3 questions." And he did. He said, "In the last 2 weeks, oh, I talked to him a lot in the last 10 days. Oh, and how many conversations have you had? Like, in my lifetime?" "No, in the last 2 weeks, bud." He was driving me nuts and being so condescending and so pointed. And I was like, He changed his report on Sunday, and he did it, he said, at the request of Brennan. He had talked to Tully and talked to Brennan. He had to delete his last slide because it had testimony in it. "I'm sorry, what did you just say, sir?" "You are a sequestered witness." If you don't know what that means that he is supposed to be blocked from seeing other people on the stand and not supposed to know what's going on in court. That way his opinion is his own opinion and is not influenced or altered by other people. But he has testimony in his slide. Why did he make changes? He made changes because Brennan said to, and he said that when you see this man slide, it was probably a ton of data. I'll get into that in a second. But he shouldn't have known any testimony. And you're supposed to be doing your own research and report, not the testimony of other people. What are you talking about, sir? So this is supposed to be, it's a smart idea. In most trials, this is what I've seen. You want your key/star witnesses to be first and or last. So what do you want them? They're going to remember the first few witnesses. They're going to remember the last few witnesses. So you want to end big and start big. So this is their lead expert, the main person who's laying their case. And if you remember from opening statements, Brennan went on and on about science and data will prove, the science and data will show, we will have the science and data for you. He said it several times in his opening statements. Okay, so this is the science and data we're waiting for, the reconstructionist. If you don't know what a reconstructionist is, they are a person who remakes accident scenes to show what happened. So they use demonstratives, sometimes they use themselves, sometimes they use crash dummies, they use simulations, but they do their best to show what happened in the scene, to explain injuries or damages that were done. Well, how does damage like this happen to a car? Well, we did this several times, and this is what happens when we move the car at this angle. This is what happened when we shot the dummy from these distances, stuff like that. That's what they are intended to do. That is their job. And the reason why I'm pointing that out so emphatically is because we have the lead Commonwealth reconstructionist, but Mr. Welcher is here, and this was a slog, ladies and gentlemen. If you did not watch this, it was a confusing slog. Now, this often happens in scientific testimony, at least for me, because I am not a that minded individual. So I'm watching their things, and they're saying, fancy jargon and using all their technical terms, and they have all their tests and processes, and so they know all that stuff. So they're explaining all of it, doing their background and explaining the processes of what they do to identify this, that, and the other. And sometimes you can get lost in the sauce a little bit going, okay, right. I don't know what that means, but okay. And typically what is supposed to happen with the scientific and analysis experts and witnesses is they say fancy science things. It's like, okay, fancy science thing, this, that, the other, that led to this, that, the other, and that's how we got here. That's not what happened with this witness. This witness does not know how to make a PowerPoint. He does not know how to make a slideshow. All of his slides were like crammed together. Just so much stuff. I prefer slides that have like a picture and then bullet points or like small sentences that are the key points, and then the person explains and fills in the rest. He wanted to put his entire monologue for that on the slide with multiple pictures. Like, I will show you an example. And he was bouncing around so much, like, first we're over here. Well, that is because of this over here, and that's this over here. Okay, does that connect to this? No, that connects to this slide over here. Well, why isn't that on that slide or on a slide next to it? Why is it over here with this stuff when it's not connected? The confusion wasn't just me not understanding stuff, because even Brennan, like, this was all on direct examination, by the way. We had direct all day today. We didn't get to cross. We had the little voir dire, and that was really it. He was sitting there on the stand, and Brennan went, okay, let me ask that a different way, or that didn't really answer how does this answer this question? Like, how does that relate to the question I asked? And he had to do it several times, and based on Brennan's tone, he was also kind of lost. Maybe that's just my interpretation of his tone, but it was absolutely And that relates to this part of my question, like trying to reintroduce his question because the man was not followable at all. The last part before lunch that we got was him being Dr. Welcher, trying to explain that Karen Reed's car tires were spinning and slipping, causing a mistime on them. And that is fascinating me. This is my speculation. Both Burgess and Welcher, in their new testimony, right, in their new reports, said that, oh, the timing that they were using was all off because of this, and this. Is like, okay, wait a minute. So everything else is wrong except your stuff. Okay. After lunch, we got more into these crazy slides and explanations, and we had a hot mic moment. If you don't know what a hot mic moment is, that is where somebody says something under their breath, or they say something out loud that was supposed to stay in their head. And the witness had said, got it, and it was because I'm thinking he was operating his slides and the slide thing wasn't working, so he was trying to answer questions and then he muttered that under his breath but into the mic. Now, remember how I went on and on about this being the reconstructionist? Well, guess what he did not do? Reconstruct anything. He had this. This is what he gave us. He was using a paint that he walked up to a parked vehicle to prove that where the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm were matched where he was on his arm. Okay, you got paint on your arm. We're not trying to see if somebody ignored a wet paint sign. You just got paint on your arm because you walked by a vehicle that had paint on your arm. And I know that he's trying to show that his height matches John O'Keefe's, and so if he was by the vehicle, that's where injuries could occur based on, but it's like, okay, but how did he get the laceration pattern? You just have a giant splotch on your arm. How do you get the little cuts? How did you match up the little cuts? You didn't do any of that. You didn't break a tail light in multiple ways to try to recreate getting the cut pattern. Like, where's the reconstructionist? He showed a few videos, but we don't see him, like, I don't want anyone to get hit by a vehicle, but we don't have a crash test dummy getting backed into. We don't have how the patterns happened. We don't have anything like that. We don't have how glass got on the bumper. We don't know how the glass was broken, if it was smashed against the vehicle, against the ground, against a face. We don't have any of that science. And they could absolutely make gelatin, a style of gelatin dummies that mimic human skin and flesh that they could have thrown a glass at. But I'm sitting here going, okay, how did this happen? And they don't tell us. In fact, when Brennan asked him, so are there any pictures or videos showing exactly how John O'Keefe was struck? The reconstructionist, the lead expert, the star expert of the science and data that Brennan went on about in his opening statement, said, we don't know. We don't have enough information. We don't know exactly how he was struck. Bruh, that's your whole job. The whole reason that you are paid and that you are here is to reconstruct the accident to show how injuries occurred. And you're going to sit there and say, you don't know, you don't have enough information? Brennan, why did you bring this case? That's not going to help him at all when his lead expert and his last witness, potentially, we'll find out what happens on day 22, that this man doesn't know. All of those slides, all of the time data, all of the bytes, bits, and like everything else, and trying to explain timings and stuff like that, and you don't have enough information to reconstruct the scene to find out how John O'Keefe was injured. You don't have any methods for reconstructing what happened to John O'Keefe according to the Commonwealth. Like, if this is the scientific data that Brennan promised the jury in opening statements, I don't see them having anywhere to go, because the last thing out of this expert that the jury heard before they were dismissed was, we don't know. There are too many unknown variables to accurately get what happened to him. Then the jury and the witness were dismissed once again because we had another argument on the floor. There was another extended sidebar, and Alessi was upset that this expert claimed that a collision happened. And he goes, he can't make an opinion about whether or not a collision happened. He is not allowed to make that, because that is a jury decision. The point of the Karen retrial is to say, because the case is, the Commonwealth is saying that Karen Reed struck John O'Keefe with her vehicle, that a collision happened and she was the fault of the collision. The defense is saying that no, something else happened to John O'Keefe and Karen Reed is being made the fall girl for it. And so they're like, it's up to the jury to decide if a collision happened. This expert isn't allowed to say, yes, a collision happened. And Brennan said, we all know a collision happened. They're arguing that a collision didn't happen. That's not what the jury's trying to decide. The jury is trying to decide if Karen Reed hit him on accident, like with manslaughter, or if she intentionally did it with murder. No, it's not. You're saying that he was hit by a car and that Karen Reed did it. That's what the jury's trying to decide, if she hit him with her car or if something else happened to him. So your expert is allowed to ask about consistency with injury to vehicles, if you've seen other vehicular injuries similar to the ones on John O'Keefe, if the damage done to the taillight was similar and the rest of the car. Because remember, we just have a broken taillight. There's so much emphasis about this broken taillight. We don't have a bent bumper. We don't have broken glass, like windshields or the back windshield or back windows. We don't have any dents or bumps or bruises on the car. I mean, I know that technically can't have bruises, but we don't have any other damage to the car except a broken taillight. And you're trying to say that and then he's allowed to ask about being clipped or whatever. He cannot sit there and tell the jury, oh, absolutely, a collision happened. He already said he doesn't know. And based on his thing, he is not allowed to make that opinion. He is not allowed to tell the jury what they are deciding. So that was what they were arguing about. I think Brennan was way out of line. I have no idea what he was talking about. And then he tried to say the defense has no case law to back this up, and Alessi jumped up and said, I have case law, and then he rattled it off right there, and he goes, and we do have our experts both before and after, because their reports are similar, unlike their experts, and rattle, and it was on and on. The judge took this under submission. Judge Canone, 9 times out of 10, will take something under submission, and she's going to tell us what is happening on Wednesday, day 22. And we're going to find out what happens then. So tell me what you think. Are you impressed by these aperture science reconstructionist experts? Tell me if you disagree with me, because you will be disagreeing with me if you like them, because I think these people are unreliable and I don't know how they're employed, to be honest. Of course, I also don't know how some of the people in my office are employed either, so...